Hey everyone, Egman here with a I guess this is a top 10 list. I don't know how to do this. But yeah, I'm doing my top 10 favorite cards from the next set that's coming out, set 5, and additionally, I'm going to kind of put a constraint if you can already tell. Decide just to pick 2 from each color just so there's a little bit more color diversity and just kind of shows more cards. So here is my list. Starting off with number 1, the 1-star ball. So this is one of the new skill cards, the Dragon Balls. Really cool, necessary for Wish leaders to work out, and I think the standard Dragon Balls are really good. I think you mostly want to run those ones, but the what is it? The Dash Pact is having this 1-star ball. I think this one's really cool. We both, for 1 energy, you drop a card from your opponent's hand, which is really good. They get to choose what it is, but that's fine, and you can still get cycle for it. So that's like it's +1 in the sense that you have the same amount of cards in hand by the end of it, but your opponent has 1 less. So that's really cool. You'd probably only run like 1 or 2 of these anyways, but I think that card's really cool, and I wanted something. I wanted a Dragon Ball because it was really necessary for this. For all these new leaders, so there is that one. Next up is Crusher Son Goku. This doesn't technically come out on set 5, but it comes out at the same time, so I'm putting it in here. This card's really good, and I think it's a card that we've needed for a while. Just because it stops like generate like turn 1, turn 1, turn 2 rush plays like 1-2 swap and stuff like that. And I think it's a card that we've just been looking for a while. The fact that they can't attack with battle cards with energy cost of 1, and then also has to choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 1 and KO it. That kind of thing is, I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of like what Planet M2 does, but I think this card's way better than that. So I think you'll see a lot of play, and it will help kind of slow down the game a little bit. To blue was probably like the easiest color to do. It was just like, oh, these cards both look like they're going to do a lot. So first up is Dimension Magic. If your leader card is blue, negate the attack, choose up to 2 of your blue energies, switch to active mode, and then you can activate this card's counter by adding a card from your life to your hand instead of paying its cost. So like, this card has like it all. It negates the attack, it untaps 2, and if you need an extra life to awaken, boom, done. It's really good. It only untaps blue energy, but that's fine. Blue energy is like the best. It's like Sensu Bean and Whis' Coercion into 1 card, and both those cards are super good. So yeah, it feels really bad to get bad ringed on this, especially if you already take a life. But other than that, this card is really good. And like a lot of cards, a lot of colors, or all colors got their own negate for no energy for life instead of energy, which I think is really good. I think I need that kind of standard. Bandit kind of has been following this thing where like 1 color gets a powerful thing, and then they're like, oh man, that's a really good effect. Let's make sure all colors have access to that. So that's something that was previously only like sacrifice and instant transmission for Namekians and Saiyans apart. So yeah. Next up is Gogeta Hero Revived. So this card, so this is the big bad boss monster. If the card game slows down enough to be able to get to 5 energy consistently to play this guy, this will be really, really, really good. And like a lot of control decks need is just like a win condition if they survive, and two things. 1, blue is probably the best control deck just because it has a lot of negates, and it has Sensu Bean, and you can use Mafuba, and you can use Objection. Like, it has everything. So the fact that this is in a blue deck is really good, and then yeah, it's just super powerful, and then just getting your opponent to 3 is really good. I think the hardest thing to do is if you are playing control, having 2 life on turn 5 to be able to choose 1 from your life and putting it in your drop area. But other than that, I think it's really good, and it has triple strike, so you can just dump their hand and then hope they don't draw a negate, and you win. And that's a really, I'd play that game every game. So, or every time I'll take that gamble. So yeah, really good. And it has barrier too. and deflect. Dang. Next up is Shocking Death Ball. All right, in green. So, oh man, I did all the. I didn't even realize. So I did all those except for the yellow one. These cards are super good, and the black one. I really like this one, mostly because you know, when you're playing androids or when you're playing, when you're playing androids, there's a real big fear of tapping out because previously the only leader that made a lot of sense was either Android 1718 or Cell, and both of them are draw 2 leaders. So you're kind of worried like, okay, I can't tap out because I can't negate, and they'll have just a bunch of dead cards in hand. So I think this card really fixes that problem, and then also the fact that it KOs something with 2 or less is just a cherry on the top. But yeah, this card's really good, and I can see it in a lot of Android builds, and I've built decks with it, and it's been good. So really like this card. I think it's almost strictly better than Speedy Surprise Attack. So if you're running that card, immediately swap it for this. But next up is Infernal Villainy Cell. This is pretty basic, but it's just when you play or combo with this card, draw 1 card. So now we have, if you're playing the Oob leader, you can now run 16 super combos. Wow, isn't that what value you can do? But yeah, it's really good. They printed this card for the new Super 17 chain, but just the fact that like even if you play this card, if you need to, it's 20k crit, which is not like the worst. You get a draw card when you play it. It's just a solid card, and I can see it. If there's a green build that was running Unbreakable Son Goku, they'll run this card instead. So very strong. Next up is After Image Technique. So if your leader card is red, choose up to one of your cards, and it gets plus 40k power for duration of the battle. And choose one of your opponent's battle cards that gets minus 10 power for the duration of the turn. So this card, this has like a lot of like pros and cons compared to like traditional negates, and also you can play it for free with Sparking 5. So immediately what a lot of people thought is like in baby decks, just to getting a minus 10 is really good. And then also we have a lot of cards that give like the new Shenron leader that gives triple strike. That can be like really or not triple strike, triple attack. That can be really bad. So just being able to give like a negative sensu bean on them for duration of the turn is really good. That kind of helps you survive something that would be attacking a lot. The cons is it doesn't actually negate the attack, which can be bad if they are just trying to, like attack so they can, combo with the Trunks to untap an energy. So that's a little rough. That's probably a negative to it, but overall it's really cool. Just the fact that it gives like a 50k difference in power, with the potential of KOing the attacking target if it's 10k or less, and that's the other thing, right? So if they are trying to just attack with some wimpy thing and then you negate it, then they can't combo. So yeah, really cool card. I expect this to see play. It was really hard to find a second red card, to be honest. A lot of them, red's in a really weird space. Like their wish leader is kind of trash. They have like a bunch of like small chains because they have like the oolong mech chain, and then they have like the spike bandages, some Gohan chain, which I guess I haven't really tried, and so I can't give them like, I can't say they're awful, but I don't know, I haven't seen anyone play them. But additionally, like their big desire, they have 2 desires. One is, and they're both just kind of lackluster, especially the King Piccolo one. I don't know, having King Piccolo is red with the only synergizes with himself. It's just I think he's just a 20k double strike for 3 energy. Like that's just, I don't know. It seems off. Anyways, we're not talking about that card. We're talking about Yamcha at 100%. So this is, I'm actually really excited for this card. So if your leader card is a red Earthling card, for the duration of the turn, this gives plus 6k power, can't have its attack negated, and deals 2 damage to your opponent's life when it KOs an opponent's battle card. So like this card gets to be a 25k double strike always, and it can't be negated. So if your opponent sees this and they don't have Crusher Ball, they're probably sweating because they can't negate the attack. And actually, so can they after image it? Yeah, they can after image it because it's not negating. It is countering. And this says I can't have an attack negate. Okay, so you can also Mafuba this, but that's just another thing for after image. That's actually really good against Victory Strike too. Because if they're trying to Victory Strike you, they can't make negate, but then you can just put a 50k difference between the two of them, and you can't. Okay, that's really cool. Anyways, so yeah, so if they have just like some 5k or 10k out, you can just swing at that. They can't negate it. And additionally, if they're trying to block it with a blocker, blockers are usually like 5k, and then you can just it's really good. It puts pressure to end the game, and I think it's really good doing it. We saw like Ultimate Gohan do some work in the past, and he's more or less the same thing, but I think this card is better than that, even though it costs one more. Just the fact that it has built-in battering for attacks, and that's the thing, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it wouldn't make sense if it says your opponent can activate blockers, because they probably wouldn't do that anyways. But no, really good card, and if there's kind of more like a beat-down red, this card will definitely go in there. And also, so I guess the last thing is your leader card has to be an Earthling. So there are a couple Earthlings. The one that comes to mind immediately is Hercule, who's just been really good anyways. So just the fact that you can put this card into a red build of Hercule and just do that seems really strong to me. So last up is Yellow. Yellow has a lot of archetype for like Frieza's army and stuff, and I think it's really good, but I haven't seen it. So but a lot of people definitely think that the Sorbet leader is really good, and not only is he Frieza's clan, so you can activate Cold Bloodlust, but just the revival of the Emperor is really good. Just even if you don't play it for free, just the fact that if your leader's a yellow Shenron card, choose it to 1 Frieza and you drop it with energy cost of 4 or less and play it. Like, just 2 energy to play something with 4 energy. That's always good. So I think this is probably one of the best color-specific desires in the that was released. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think this one's really good. A lot of people have been experimenting with this. There's so many good Frieza cards, and I think it's really good. And then lastly, I just wanted to pick one of the Deadly Defenders, and I thought like the yellow one was really good because you can just pay 2 energy and get it back. Hooray! But yeah, during your opponent's turn, if your leader card is yellow and this card is in rest mode, your opponent's card can't attack leader cards, and this gains minus 5k power. So just really good for defense. It's like, what I was saying earlier, Bandai printed Vegito, and they're like, oh man, this card's really good. I guess we should make sure all the colors get it. So there we go. We got it for yellow. Frieza is just a really good name to have, and he also has Frieza's clan and Frieza's army, so there's synergy there. And he's just very powerful. So really like this. All the other colors got one too, but I just decided to pick on the yellow one, and that is about it. Yeah, for some of these colors it was really tight which ones to choose. Like, there are a lot of really cool black tech cards that were released. So that was kind of tricky, and I didn't do the Super 17 engine. I thought it looks good, but it kind of gave me like Slug PTSD because it's kind of like a dual attack. Like, it does stuff, but I feel like it's not as oppressive as the original Cell Chain, right? It does more, like, there's more flexibility, but it costs more energy, and so I think the Cell Chain is still better than the Super 17 chain, but I could definitely be proven wrong. So red, I had to scrape these two at the bottom barrel, and then yellow had just like a lot of good mediocre cards, but so it was kind of weird to choose which one kind of rose above the rest, and then blue is really easy. So anyways, let me know what cards I missed, which ones you guys would have put on this list instead, and I will catch you guys next time.